Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of KÖN Talks. This is Thuraya Darwish, and I'll be the host and oftentimes the speaker in these podcasts. But sometimes I will be having guests, so let's see who that will be in future episodes. Now, first things first. I was also asking myself, why create this podcast? There's lots of podcasts out there. Like, why should I be starting a podcast? And for years, I've been pondering that. And I just got some awareness today as I'm recording this episode with you. So it seems, at least for the time being, the target is to give voice to everything that is already talking to us, but a lot of us are not listening. So that includes the earth, the trees, animals, you name it. So I wonder what has been talking to you, but you've been so hardwired into desensitizing yourself, so you don't hear it. But you know what? You still hear it, because it's not a matter of just covering your ears. You are perceiving it. You have this very sensitive organism called a body, and those of us with bodies, some of us have extra sensitive bodies. So they sense more. So when you sense more and you're trying to suppress that, excuse my voice. When you sense more and you're trying to suppress that, what do you think that will do to your body? What do you think that will do to your being? If you keep denying and invalidating something that's naturally a part of you. And you know what's funny is that I was watching the Lorax animation the other day. And, it's a Dr. Seuss character. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But basically, there's the original one they've done like ages ago. But they've done a more recent one. I don't remember exactly when. But basically, the Lorax speaks for the trees. And I watched it the other day. And just this morning, I'm like, okay, what am I doing this podcast for? And the Lorax comes through. At least what I remember the Lorax saying, which is, I speak for the trees. And I'm like, whoa, okay, hang on a second. Oh my God, this whole time I was thinking, okay, I shouldn't be starting a podcast because, I don't have anything smart to say. I don't know if I can be one of those podcasters that speak very, let's call it cognitively. It's very brain mattery. So I'm like, I'm not sure if I can, start a podcast where it has to come from my brain, from my mind. It requires to be something that just flows, kind of like a stream of consciousness. So that being said, once I've let go of this idea of it has to be something that I have to think of or create mentally or structure in some way cognitively, things were finally flowing. Like the space was finally being created for this podcast. And believe me, I have gone through different ideas and different names over the past 2 years minimum to kind of come up with an idea for this podcast, like what's the name and etc. But every single time the enthusiasm would just yeah, it would just die off because it still wasn't really the thing that was kind of exciting me truly. Like the idea seemed great and in that moment, but also it's like, what's my target? I didn't have a target. And that's why you might hear a lot of people saying, like, what's your why? What's your why? So in this case, my why is to share with you what awareness I get from everything that's talking to me. And that, my friends, will probably make me seem like a very crazy person. And that's totally fine. Because you know what? The earth could use more crazy people. We definitely have way too much stupids that are destroying the earth, that are just taking and using. But actually what we require is those special individuals, as I mentioned earlier, that have this capacity of sensing and hearing what others are refusing to hear, and then actually sharing it and actually waking people up to what is talking to them. And currently we're just living in an age where people are just willing to talk to an AI and a chat GPT and wherever you want to call it. I hope in the future, if this episode is monetized, they don't just take this word and end up placing an ad for for some AI software. And if that happens, okay, fine. But the whole thing is, year after year after year, I mean, just look at it. 2020, we had COVID. People needed to be quarantined. People need to be in their homes. They needed to get them used to talking to a screen. Yes, there are people on the other end, but it's kind of like, hey, let's take this screen thing to another level. Like, you're no longer interfacing. You're no longer interfacing with people in person. You're interfacing through a screen. And I don't know if you've noticed, in case you're one of those people that do actually leave their house from time to time, but being around people in person is so different than just looking at them through a screen. And for me, it's like since 2020, and now it's like we're towards the end of 2025. And basically, we've had years of this becoming more and more hardwired into us, where screens have started to replace the actual engagement with the world. So the engagement is starting to become through screens. And one thing that I'm very grateful for is that when we still use our actual voices, like our actual voices, not the ones that are AI generated, as I've seen some creators doing. And again, not wrong, it's just, different audience and different way of creating. But your actual voice that's coming from your being will actually engage with whoever is listening, will engage to whatever also is listening. So it's not just about people. So remember that, please. If you are someone considering starting a podcast, perhaps you already have an audience and you don't need to start looking for one. So just wanted to slide that in. So your voice actually begins to engage with your surroundings, with the molecules, with the quantum entanglements. So as you broadcast your voice, And remember, without a body, you're not going to have a voice that's like in the physical sense. It'll be a different kind of voice because, like I mentioned earlier, everything talks, everything has a consciousness. But the voice in itself also creates something. So that's what I'm inviting you to, is to start exploring. What's that like? You know what? What if I don't have to talk for people as much? What if I don't have to talk for people? What if I speak to the future that I'm aware of? And not just any future, but a greater future where the earth is thriving and we have more engagement, more oneness, more communion with everything around us. And I'm not saying this as like a, kind of trying to paint a picture of any kind. It's like, what does that look like to you? What does that look like to you? Maybe for you, it's taking a walk in the park or going for a hike in nature. For someone else, taking care of their animals, spending time with their pets. For another person, it could be just swimming in the sea or the ocean. It's just different. And that difference, that uniqueness that each person carries, the earth is actually grateful for that. It's asking for that. Like, please come alive. Come alive. Now, here's something I also wanted to bring up here. And sorry if it's all sounding a bit preachy. That's not the intention. But as I said, I've been listening and I'm sharing. I'm sharing what I heard with you. So there is something that's been reoccurring, I would say, with me. So I'm a person that's on the autism spectrum. I've also got ADHD, OCD, like I'm a very fancy unicorn. So, and I'm learning how to, use that to my advantage, basically. And that's one of the things that make individuals on the autism spectrum very sensitive, is that they have these special powers to feel everything much more intensely, and maybe not feel, but more like sense everything more intensely. So we might get into that in some other episode, but what I wanted to say is that after all these years of screens and screens and screens, and people kind of like separating from, full on engaging with the world, etc. So what's also occurred is that it's kind of like anxiety is more on the rise since that occurred. So it's not to say that there wasn't anxiety before. Yes, there was. But it's kind of like it increased even more so because the separation has kind of like become ingrained and entrained over the years of, quarantining, lockdown, and 6 feet apart and whatever. I don't remember the exact distance, but you know what I mean. You may hear an Arabic word here and there, by the way. I mean, Arabic is my first language, so you may hear an Arabic word here and there. But anyways, where was I? So, I was saying, we have been exposed to a lot of unnatural kind of reconditioning. So those that have developed anxiety are those that are actually, I'm not saying everyone, but you'd find that a lot of them are starting to go against their nature. Like their nature is to be those that sense a lot, those that engage a lot with everything around them, And now they've been put into this kind of man-made box of screens, left, right, and center. And it's like being deprived of something that is so essential to them. Like, they thrive on engaging. They thrive in meeting face to face. They thrive on touching and getting information from touch. Like, when was the last time you've touched a plant or a tree or an animal? How much information do you get just from that? And again, if you're like, I don't get anything, it's just an animal, it's just a plant, that's totally fine. Maybe maybe this podcast is not for you, or at least not this particular episode. But basically, going against that starts to create this sense of, I'm doing something that's not me, and that creates a sense of contraction, anxiety, depression, whatever you want to call it. It might show up differently from person to person. But it's kind of like, you know what? I was watching Harry Potter this morning. And basically, in the second movie or book, whichever you're familiar with, they introduced something called Dementors. And was it the third or second movie? I think it was the third, sorry. So in the third movie and third book, they introduced something called Dementors. Dementors, I don't know. English, American, British, blah. Anyways. So these Dementors, when they're around, they literally like suck out any sense of joy, any sense of aliveness. And the one way to actually deter them, they use the expecto patronum charm, but actually while they're saying it, first they need to be thinking of something like a memory where it's like so full of love, and I'll add also like so full of gratitude. So that's kind of it. It's like once we've gotten used to a certain vibration being around us, so whatever this Dementor has been for you, whether it's like thoughts of some kind or emotions or certain feelings, and you start believing that this is you, what occurs is that, yes, you become at the effect of it, as in you're influenced by it, and starts to drain you. And you start losing the sense of joy, the sense of, having any kind of enthusiasm. And some people might say like, hey, that's a natural thing to occur. Everyone I know around me, they reach a certain stage in their life where they're kind of like bored with everything, done with everything, and they don't see how anything could possibly, get better or improve or become greater. But it's like, okay, so let's call these individuals the zombies. Because yes, they have cut off their aliveness, they have cut off their enthusiasm, they've cut off their sense of adventure and wonder. Because of what? Because of allowing whatever it is that's occurring in this reality, in this world, to shape who they're becoming. So, and I'm speaking from experience, by the way. This is not to say that, oh, I've got it all figured out. Of course not. Just this morning, and for the past few mornings, I've been waking up with this heaviness in my chest, and I'm like, what's going on? And I would keep assuming that it's me, I'm feeling this way. Oh, because, things have been tough, things aren't going as I was hoping they'd go, etc., etc. So I was coming up with all these reasons that this would be actually mine. But finally today, I really demanded myself, hey, let's get present with this. And let's, even if it means that I'm going to be uncomfortably vulnerable, and that's okay. But really, this is something is so loud here, and I can't stop. I have to stop ignoring it. I was like literally on the verge of just collapsing to the floor. That's how intense it was. And basically, I asked, like, is this mine? And it's not mine. Okay, is it someone? Is it some things? And what I got to is that it was the earth. And the earth is asking for some contribution. So some of you might be like, but hey, like, why would the earth... Okay, I'm going to use a naughty word here. Why is earth being such a bitch? Earth is not being a bitch. Earth is definitely not trying to be a bitch. Earth is asking for a contribution. And it knows that you can hear it. It knows that you can hear it. So it's talking to you. And since you have this capacity, why would it stop talking to you? It knows you have an ability to contribute something. And you're a person that actually cares for the earth. You're a person that wants to see a greater world, a greater future. And at the same time, you're resisting this communication with the earth because, oh no, it's too intense. And, you know, whatever I'm saying right now, I'm basically saying it to myself too. Not to judge myself or anything like that, but it's like, can you imagine if I had just asked that question like 3 days ago when, you know, I started sensing this, let's call it, this sense of like achiness, etc. And, you know, I would attribute it to different things. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just aware of the earthquakes. Maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that. And yes, there has been more earthquake activity lately. But also, like, I completely discounted and eliminated the possibility of me contributing something. And now I don't know what it is exactly. It's just an energy. And I'm like, okay, hey Earth, here it is. I'm not sure what you're going to do with it, but it's fine. You asked me specifically for that, so here you go. So when your body, you have this organism that's alive and can sense so intensely. And again, it doesn't, by the way, get to that level of intensity and loudness unless we've been ignoring it repeatedly. So it's not just ignoring it once. Oh no, I'm busy right now. You know, let me just finish this report. La 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 la. I'm talking about months, even years of ignoring it. Ignoring being with that awareness and acknowledging it. So, that being said, I'm going to repeat the same question I said earlier. Like, what is talking to you? What is talking to you? And what if you just stopped to listen? What could you possibly lose? Everything that you thought was normal, possibly? Everything that you were thinking was normal about you is going to be finally eradicated by simply pausing to listen, to talk, engage. And what if that is a gift to the earth, whatever you're engaging with, to the world, to the future? I'd love for you to sit with that for a second. Yeah. Even longer. What could the world look like if more of us were to choose that? More aliveness, more curiosity, more engagement, communion. Would the earth become like a huge Hogwarts? If you're not familiar with Harry Potter terms, Hogwarts is like the school of magic in the UK. And yeah, what if it would become a huge Hogwarts because you're kind of being like a professor now and you're calling in all these students, future generations, to come where it's safe to practice and be their magic. What would that be like?